Yo, what's going on, everybody? AA Ron here.
Raider Pete.
Welcome back to PanNerdia, and welcome back to, well, could be the last Watchmen review ever. Watchmen Season 1, Episode 9, titled See How They Fly, the finale for now. And, man, was it a finale. It really tied all the stories together.
Probably my most favorite finale of the last 4 or 5 series that I've watched.
Yeah, man. I mean, we've been watching some cool stuff and really picking out I think some choice viewing material. Unfortunately, Walking Dead kind of fell off, but it was choice at one point.
But unlike The Walking Dead and other things, this actually took place right after where the comic left off, or after, just in general.
Mm-hmm.
After, and wow, that's a hard thing.
It's a spiritual successor / sequel /
That's a hard
homage.
It's a hard thing to accomplish, and they nailed it, man.
Yeah, I mean, from the concepts to the just the essence of it to being
keeping
timely,
true to each character and all their timelines.
Not only the icons, the legends from the original 12 issues, but also the new characters and relating it to something that's happening now. Just like when that came out, that was relating to what was going on back in '85, but also bringing in the past, just like the old school comic did, and tying it all together in a real nice knot. Perhaps even the what was the knot that Alexandria, or not Alexandria, but Alexander the Great. He didn't untie, but he sliced. What was that knot called? Do you know the name of that?
You mean his military strategy?
No,
he cut a knot in half?
Yeah, the knot that was unknot. You could not release it. I forget the name of that knot. But just like
I feel ashamed of myself. It's been a long day of shoveling.
Yeah, hey, man. We're all dealing with snow out here in the Midwest, the belly of the beast. And but yeah, man. Either way, speaking of Alexander the Great, a lot of references to him.
Ozymandias he worships Alexander the Great. Everything about him, his essence, the way he conquers yet spreads education and culture back and forth.
His celibacy, his...
well, Alexander liked a little bit of everything, but
right.
Ozymandias was I don't mess with impurities like that.
Impurities, yes.
Yes, I've got too many other more important things going on right now.
So our theory of, Ozymandias being the father of Lady True was in fact true.
It was true, just not the old-fashioned way.
No, during his recording to Redford, revealing his epic plan to drop the Psycho Squid on New York, in the background while he was filming it and
Giving
whatnot.
his speech.
Congratulations,
President.
Yeah, with his fucking Beyond. You guys know Beyond, right? She, as her true self, snuck into his office, got on his computer, which the password...
It looked like an old DOS system, but somehow she
logged in, and it says the knot. I don't think I have a picture here. Let me go ahead and throw the pictures up now since we're jumping into this. Maybe I did snap a picture in there. But either way, even says that knot in the computer, and she enters a password, which is actually a reference to the comic too. Is Ramses is the password?
It's one of the Egyptian pharaohs, yeah.
She puts in that password, and it opens up the picture behind her, Alexander the Great picture, which is AKA the what fridge?
A refrigerator for, well, as True says, his cum closet?
Cum closet. His batches of bort.
Batches of bort and vials, and many of them. He's been hard at work.
But Bien goes ahead and plucks out 2346 and puts it into an injector, replacing a vial with just some lotion.
Good old Jergens.
Might have even been the Jergens used to conceive these vials.
Oh my God.
But
I didn't think of that. It's right there next to his computer.
There. Yeah, I mean, come on. Watching little green 8-bit ladies on the screen. Either who, she went ahead and self-inseminated herself. And, that was the origin story of Lady True.
That's true. And I don't know if we were going to get to it now, but when she eventually is an adult and goes to Antarctica and goes to Karnak and confronts her,
which is
father.
It's pretty much the next scene. I mean,
there you go.
Literally after it shows and it says 2008 on the screen, and you guys will see the picture here in a second, and it's Lady True in this elegant snowsuit, as lack of a better term, knocks on the door. Adrian comes out just like, who the fuck is here? And looking like Banks. You guys don't know Banks, but
there was about 4 solid scenes in this movie that reminded us of our old pal Nick Banks.
Yes, very much so. And all in this first 15 minutes of the show, because it's all about Adrian and kind of wrapping up his story, the WTF of the season, that is. And so, he gets in there. He lets her in after she pretty much strokes his ego by saying he's the smartest man alive.
Probably the best one-on-one conversation in the final episode. I mean,
I have one that beats that.
There were some sentimental ones that were really hard-hitting, tugged on the old heartstrings.
Yeah, the last conversation between...
Right.
Yeah.
But the thing is that...
But that was a good one.
This conversation with Lady True and her father... And she said everything just right. Flattered him to get in the door. He's like, you can't even use my restroom. Get out of here. I don't care how long it took you to find me in Antarctica. Get out of here. But she basically said, oh, you killed 3 million people in New York City in 1985 and didn't get any recognition for it? That was brilliant because you saved the world from, atomic holocaust and all that. And he was like, would you like a cup of tea?
Right. And
so
then,
once she's inside... And
she reveals it finally.
For the most part from all the winter clothes, yeah.
Right there, yeah. See?
She says it all and then asks for $43 billion to make this mechanism to capture Dr. Manhattan and take his power and inherit his power.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're a blithering idiot. You don't get anything. I'll never call you daughter.
But in that same sense, while she was speaking that, she said that she knew where he was over on Europa, and she had a satellite going there that it was going to be there on this specific day. So keep that in mind.
And he's a smart guy, so he remembered the exact day and time that this arrival of her satellite launch would be at Europa.
And then we end up on Europa when he's finally escaping through that little hole you guys see up there, the one that he dug with his horseshoe shank, Shawshank Redemption style.
Yeah.
And clawed his way through.
And it came out from under a shrub.
It
looked like a hat from an old Acme cartoon. Bloop. Tree came out.
His scenes always did have some humor to him, that's for sure. But he's being greeted by his rescue ship, aka the Egg Pod. Eggs being the predominant symbol of this season.
Way to go, HBO.
And it was pretty sweet. It landed pretty gracefully. Not ripping up too much of the turf, but as he walks towards his inevitable escape, the game warden comes, his adversary,
threatens him with the rifle as usual,
and shoots him. And a nice Easter egg, Damon Lindelof fashion, he catches the bullet like he does in the comic, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yes.
Yeah. Little wacky, but hey, he did it. Maybe the guns aren't that strong.
At first I thought, it's a rubber bullet. It just knocked him on his keister. But then he's like, look what I got.
Yeah. I think he ends up using his plate as he catches it, and he thinks he's cool, But anyway, he got it, and then...
Stabs him.
The
original Mr. Phillips.
And you learn that Adrian's also the one who gave him the mask and gave him the role of being his adversary.
Why, Master? Why did you give me a mask to wear from the beginning?
And what I've learned today by listening to the podcast is that, in fact, everything that was going on there, besides the actual makeup of it, Mr. Phillips and Crookshanks and how Dr. Manhattan said he laid it out, besides that, it's all Ozzy. The giant play, the play that he was playing in the first couple episodes, it wasn't that little play we saw. It was all of this. It was
the cake, the horseshoe,
the trial too.
Yeah.
The trial was planned. It was all the point where Mr. Crookshanks winks at him.
He had 8 years to kill, as he told True later on in this episode.
And it made him almost psycho, even though he probably pretty much is. Either way, he gets to the ship. After they all say bye to him, he stands, once he's in, he's directed to stand in this pod as he gets, prepared for a long travel and preserved so he doesn't die or starve to death. and he gets sprayed by gold, and it turns out, well, he's been on Earth since episode 4. In fact, he was the gold statue.
This guy was right. He was the gold statue. He was cocooned like Han Solo in Jabba the Hutt's lair. Mm-hmm. And there weren't any blinking lights, but he was frozen in quite the position. I mean, even his daughter even thought of, like, if he has his hands on his hips, and then he gets startled, he'll look straight up, and it'll be like the perfect pose.
I know, exactly. I noticed that. The pod was just so uncomfortable enough to where he would just be like, well, maybe I'll just naturally stand like this. And then it was perfect. She's like, that was great.
Matched his personality, the whole, everything.
So as Lady True prepares for the inevitable launch of the Millennium Clock, she dons her Halo-esque hat, gets beyond. And
then she's like, take me to your leader.
Pretty much, man. Oh, it doesn't even show up. That's pretty
cool. Look at the eyeballs move. They're just hovering over my head.
Did you not expect that? Keep that the rest of the show, please. Thanks. I didn't know he was going to bring this, folks. But it actually works out better because it's green and it looks like he has eyes above his head.
It's got the extra dot at top.
Why didn't he do this the entire time we did this podcast? I don't know, guys. You asked.
I was waiting for like an extraterrestrial part, and I saw the picture of the ship behind us, and we're talking about him like getting, launched for like a 2-year sleep back to Earth, and
pretty much
I thought, why not? This is a good appropriate time to have 3 extra eyes on top of my head.
And how appropriate to switch finally from the Adrian Lady True wrap up to, well, not complete wrap up, but most of it, to, well, what's Lori been doing down in the Cyclops Den, aka the closed Sears, and well, while she's sitting there and everybody's kind of coming in, including old man Keen and the rest of the Cyclops crew.
The whole Keen family and all the original OG
those kooky Keens. As she's sitting there still roped up to the chair, a man in the Rorschach mask comes up behind her and starts whispering, well, it's not just any guy, it's, well, Looking Glass. And kind of funny, we finally see this generation's like, Looking Glass.
Quiet, I'll get us both out of here safely. And she's like, Mirror Guy?
Yeah, that was a great line. It was
He's like, great. And he corrects her, it's Looking Glass.
But what was great is he's pretty much this generation's Rorschach, and he's in a Rorschach mask finally.
Mm-hmm. And what did Rorschach want more than anything else, even though it's kind of crazy? He wanted everyone to know the truth. Yeah. And that's kind of what Looking Glass is in that spot now, where he's finally found out the pure truth, and he wants that to
even
be
to
revealed.
The point where he ends up going to the lair and the location that everything started from, which is kind of a funny, awesome roundabout to his character too. It finished off nicely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So as they're sitting there and they're trying to figure out what the fuck's going on because the radios are buzzing in and all this gunfire is going off as they're trying to capture Dr. Manhattan. And then as Keen's freaking out and all this, boom, Dr. Manhattan gets zapped in. He's like, I got you, you blue fuck. And starts on this whole monologue.
Yeah, and as he's doing the monologue, it's like the shirt, then the pants, then the ridiculous panties, as Agent Blake pointed out.
Which was great, too. She manages to continue to be funny in the weirdest situations.
Cracking weirdly, just like her dad.
Yeah, I mean, Mirror Guy in the most inappropriate time, but it's still awesome. Mirror Guy? But yeah, Keen in his fucking Manhattan wannabe trousers, he explains that he's going to have all this power. It's kind of overkill, waving his dick in people's faces, whatever. So the dude, finally gets ready to step in.
First he does a yeehaw, and then he gets in the tank.
Yeah. Well, not only before that, Angela finally shows up because she ends up basically breaking the fingers of a 7th Cavalry guy until he spilled the beans.
That's right. When she shows up to the closed down Sears Mall, she caps like 4 or 5 guys out front, right through between the eyes, goes in, and
runs up to these guys before.
Blake was the first one. She's like, Angela, what are you doing here? She goes, what are you doing here? And she goes, well, just being, captured and probably killed or something.
Being sarcastic.
Yeah.
And I think Angela was more like, what are you doing here? Because she knows, obviously, her having the past. But with Dr. Manhattan and all this, but who knows, whatever. It didn't go much deeper than that.
They're both in the Manhattan Lovers Club.
Yeah, they're both in some deep quarrel
depending on which decade you're talking about during his 90 years on Earth.
And he even says it's hard for him to keep present right now as he's in this lithium box, hence all the batteries they've been collecting over all these episodes. That's what is keeping
collecting them, crushing them, melting them, and making that special cage or whatever.
I don't think we mentioned... Not only is it the 7th Cavalry's plan to capture Manhattan and become him, it is also Lady True's. And we find that out real early in the episode. And that's
true.
Straight up her plan. Well, when she's talking to
When she talks to her dad in Antarctica, she lays out the whole plan. She just needed the money. And he's like, you got to do it from scratch. He's like, do you know that I inherited wealth beyond imagination, and I just gave it away and started from scratch just to prove myself. So that's basically what she had to do from 2008 to 2019. Is she did it all, became a trillionaire, and now the plan is coming together, and she's got the same objective as the senator and the white supremacists. They want control via the power of Dr. Manhattan inherited to one of theirs, and she wants it for herself and her own self, to not only at first let Reeves get his vengeance on what happened in Oklahoma.
Well, that was the deal to actually help her get Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah, she would have never known where he was or who he is unless Dr. Manhattan in 2009, the middle of 2009, went to visit Mr. Will Reeves.
But her purpose totally is all about... this is what she says. She says she's going to do what Dr. Manhattan didn't do, right? But again, this whole thing about having Dr. Manhattan's power is it doesn't matter who gets it. Ultimately, no mere mortal or human should have that power because they don't know what to do with it. It just happened to originally go to a very boring person who was John Osterman.
Right.
He's kind of lame in general. So when he gets his power, he's not some fantastic, like Goku-esque figure. He has all his power, and he's just kind of like,
he's not too sure about the logic of stuff, too, because he'll get asked, like, because he was trapped in that cage, he didn't know what time he was in.
Right.
And he couldn't really help out with the situation that was happening right then and there. But a lot of little blurbs of him being in 1985 and this and that and all these different eras, he basically at one point said, and you don't know who he's talking to, probably like a higher up in the military, is like, I don't see what my purpose would be in Afghanistan right now. Like, I don't see myself having any purpose to be there right now, da-da-da-da. And you're like, whoa, like he's floating around, bing, bang, bong. And that kind of proves that, that's how he is. Now, Lady True, she had said what she wanted to do. She wanted to fix, like, world hunger, the ozone layer.
Yeah, she wanted to do everything that he wasn't doing.
But
he should have done.
Because she's such a narcissist, just like her father and everything else, there's no way that was going to go that way. She was going to be like, kiss my feet, everyone.
Yes, and that's kind of her whole essence. She basically is her father. So,
Takes one to know one, as he said.
As he fucking said. And the thing with the Keen, he totally was about, like, it was a straight up, black and white, no pun intended, that he wanted that power, and it wasn't about saving the world. It was like, we deserve this. Yeah, it was all about power. So, would she have eventually start saving the world and then eventually be corrupted, or was she going to be the same thing no matter what? Ultimately, too, it comes down to, John not being able to stop all this, but what did he ultimately want, or what was he trying to ultimately do? And as we get to what happens in the end of this, which we'll get to soon, the big question is, was the whole time he looking for a worthy candidate? We will find out. But I'm going to go ahead and switch this slide over because it's going through cycling. So once they're all sitting there and Angela's, before Keen strikes the button or right when he strikes the button to turn into Dr. Manhattan, boom, this big blue blast happens. Well, at the same time, it's really Lady True because, all of her technology was in their facility. She basically teleports them to the center of town in Greenwood.
The center of town, Greenwood, which is the place of the 1921 massacre.
Yep.
How appropriate.
She happily, puts on display the...
Attention, everyone. Right. As all the bigots sit there staring at her.
And then get zapped. Look at that sweet picture I got. And in fact, after listening to the podcast, like Pete said to me, they did get zapped. I thought they got teleported somewhere.
They got obliterated.
But after they didn't show where they got teleported, I was like, okay, they got fucking obliterated, and they indeed did.
I was just hoping that they'd, break some fingers or stab an eye out or something first. Someone had to suffer. Someone had to see someone else suffer. Then they all got obliterated. But you know what? It was short and sweet. She said what Will Reeves wanted her to, he gave her a written note about who they are and what they need to hear before they die.
She got like 3/4 of the way through.
Right. But then Judd's wife was like, what? Just do it. Do what? And she goes, well, aren't you going to kill? She goes, oh, yeah, I'm definitely going to do that.
That's pretty sweet. But, we forgot to say what happened to Senator Keen. He turned into a human goop.
As True said, oh, wait a second. should we let him out? He should be a part of this, right?
Sarcastic
Wait a second, though. Now, when you're using this type of instrument, like, you obviously know to keep the pressure to the certain point. Otherwise, you just turn into, well, basically a water balloon. Just popped.
And it was everywhere. It even got underneath the cage that Manhattan was in. But what was nice was it was actually a nice conduit for him to use a little of his power.
Because it's bio.
Because it's bio. And he was able to zap...
there he is right
Blake.
There. Shit.
Oh, yeah, that's when he's getting zapped. But he was able to zap Blake, Looking Glass, and Ozymandias back to, his
Ozzy's
place.
Crib, yeah.
Yeah. And, he's like, we did it so we could save the day. And, they went about their plan. And as that plan was conducting, the plan back in Senator Greenwood was going down with Lady True. And, the reason John didn't send Angela away was because he wanted somebody there with him when he died.
Right, he didn't want to die alone. He wanted someone by his side. And that big orb thing, the cooler, much more improved version of what the Senator was trying to put together,
which is the Millennium Clock, by the way.
Right. It kind of like gives birth. The Millennium Clock gave birth to this like floating egg orb thing that
it was at the very
serves
top
two
tip.
purposes. One, it's going to suck every ounce of life out of Dr. Manhattan, like in this picture here.
And then regurgitate it.
And regurgitate it onto her, where she inherits all of the power immediately and becomes a little blue woman. But
which would have been interesting to see. I kept thinking about, like, what would she look like, bald and Dr. Manhattan-esque? Interesting. Either way, as the machine's whirling and twirling and zapping John from existence, he eventually zaps back into what Cal's body originally looked like, as he said, one last goodbye. Yeah, and then was gone. So I guess it's pretty much assumed that he's dead, or his essence is still out there somewhere.
The fact is that when she asked him the last question, which was like, "Where are you at right now?" and he's like, "I'm everywhere simultaneously."
Yeah.
Specifically, their relationship from the day we met till now, and everything in between that happened between you and I'm all living it all at one moment. And I was like, all right, now I'm gonna cry. Not the first time I watched it, but when I watched it alone earlier today.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh man, that's exactly like how I always envisioned. If I knew I was dying and my life was flashing before my eyes, I'd want to somehow like have like a picture book flipping as fast as possible of all my favorite memories of my life,
Oh yeah. It would be the way. Well, that's a lot of people say what happens, but I guess this one was more specific to his and Angela's relationship, which again I'll get back to the whole theory I have about the perfect candidate for his powers. But as that starts, finishing up, and the ball finally contains his power, she gets knocked back by the blast. She kind of wakes up in a stupor to Bien waking her up. And at the same time, this is pretty much right when Ozymandias is launching the squid attack, which they came up with this idea.
Modified squid attack, right?
Modified, because they freeze the little effers before they send them through the portal to shoot out like a Gatling gun on Tosa.
Yeah, he can narrow it down where it's not just the whole city, it's just like,
what would you say, like 5 meters?
Five block radius.
Right.
He's like, but the center of that 5 block radius is going to get obliterated from, like you said, ice, squid, Gatling gun style.
Yeah, like little sharp, squid-shaped hail.
Do we get a picture of her hand with the hole in it?
Yeah, we do actually. I hadn't showed it yet.
I should have put a little green sticker on my hand.
Oh yeah, there it is right there.
There it is. All right, good timing.
So yeah, she gets plummeted. She's the first one to really feel the effects as.
And at that point, she's like, "Well, I might still inherit it, or I might die. Either way, I'm not moving."
And actually, before all that started shooting down, as Angela and Bien are right by one of those Dr. Manhattan phone booths, the phone rings. Bien answers. It's Agent Blake on the phone, Lori, being like, "Get Angela." She's like, "It's for you." And Angela's like, "Huh?" And she's like, "Run, motherfucker."
Yeah, get under cover, quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it starts to shoot down.
It's coming from the sky.
It takes out Lady True, even to the point where she says, "Mother effer" in Vietnam. Great shot, too. They kept showing her by the cross like she really thought she was a god. And the whole ball drops on her ass and destroys her. Mm-hmm. So it's funny. We got Senator Keene gone. He's in a puddle. She's crushed to death. Angela ends up seeing the lid of some like military container not getting any damage. She uses it as protection to run towards the theater, the very theater that we started the show in, with Will Reeves as a little boy. And who does she find there? None other than
her grandpa,
Will Reeves. Yeah.
And her kids sleeping after their teleportation exhausted them.
So it was another ultimate plan by Dr. M. And
that's where she found out that it truly was Dr. Manhattan's plan all along. He knew he was going to die and how he was going to die, and that, he got justice for Will and still had his 10 amazing years with I want to say Gina, but Angela.
Yeah.
And now he's brought them together after justice has been served. So there you go.
And it was
Hooded Justice gets one last fulfillment of justice in his life. Really, 105 years of life.
Oh, he did. Yeah. It's quite.
He tells Angela, "Well, I was here when I was 100 years ago. I was 5 years old watching the show."
And and by the way, my mom was the one playing the piano.
Yeah, his mom played the piano. That burnt down too. But he's like, the film that I liked the most was about that one character with the last name Reeves. And I took his name because I idoled him, respected him, and I believed in the law at the time,
Yeah. And he essentially was like, so you took the pills, right? And she's like, yep. And he's like, well, you know my origin story now. And the big thing, I mean, again, this scene was amazing. It was the scene that made me tear up, especially this part right here when he's like, he's like, look,
you took my pills.
He took your pills.
Like, yep, and they showed that next.
Right, and he's like, so what did you feel? What I felt? And she's like, yeah, anger. And he's like, yeah, that's what I thought too. He goes, but honestly, he goes, as I figured it out, it was fear and hurt.
Pain,
and that made her break down immediately, which was a beautiful scene. And he's like, you can't heal under a mask. You gotta take it off and let the wounds get some air. Yeah. And that was such a good line, man. Yeah. And really, like, I would say right then and there,
that's true for anybody in any traumatic experience in your life. Like, bottling up, putting a mask over it, that's temporary. And also what comes with it might make things worse.
Yeah, exactly.
So, there you have it.
I would even say this, too, is that she's hanging up her mask at that point. She's not going to be, Sister Night anymore. But as they kind of tie it up, she even asks him to come stay with him for a little bit.
Before they could go home, they had to get to a car. And to get to a car, they had to go to her secret underground lair that's under her unopened bakery. Whoops, sorry about the eyeballs.
Yeah.
But, that's when one of the kids saw the Hooded Justice costume in, what is a closet-ish kind of locker. And that's what makes you think, like, oh, are they going to have, like, a fast forward? This kid's going to be the new superhero in, like, 2020, not 29 or 2030.
He'll be another cop vigilante, right? That's kind of the thing. Like, he ended up seeing it. But how Angela's so straightforward. She saw him look at it, and she's kind of like, yeah, but it is what it is.
But at the same time, and we haven't gotten to the post-credits stuff, but, like, at the same time, like, as much as you want there to be a season 2, they ended it so well and so thoroughly that, like, it could very well be it. Just one season of 9 awesome episodes.
Well, here's the thing. I, again, listened to the podcast. Damon Lindelof pretty much said that, unless he finds that another perfect aha moment to inspire the next season, he has no plans or wants to do a second season. And that's how he ended the story, to really have everything tied up in a neat bow, but also open-ended, just like the comics ended.
Makes you wonder if other people took a graphic novel or a book of any sort of novel and turned it to a series or a movie, if they just kept it, just did it right and just did it once. Leave it at that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, there's a perfect adaptation, and like I said, like, spiritual successor. There's a shot of the son looking at finding the.
Oh, it's a boy.
It's a boy, yeah.
Okay.
So
there's so few lines from the kids.
Yeah,
that like it's a blur. It's all the awesomeness of everything else.
I would say it's a boy. There, I'm pretty sure they said it was a he, but who knows?
Whatever.
Either way.
Yeah. Damn. Want to borrow these for a second?
I'm okay.
Okay.
But yeah, so we actually didn't get to the actual end here. So as she gets home, as they get home, she tucks everybody in. She walks into the kitchen, is like, shit, I gotta clean this up. Eggs are splattered on the ground. Again, eggs. Eggs are pretty much the symbol. Again, another confirmation from Damon. You know, the symbol for the original Watchmen was a smiley face with a blood splatter on it.
Yep.
He said the symbol for this show is the egg. That is the series symbol. Well, she sees the eggs in the ground. She starts cleaning up. She has another conversation with Will. And as he pretty much straight up says, like, yeah, man, he was a good guy, but with all those powers, you should have did more. Again, kind of almost in a way being like, wink, wink, Angela, you should be, you would do more.
Whether it was a wink or not, the fact of the matter is he's right. And you know what? So is True. And you know what? So are probably other people too. But the fact is, boring or not, power hungry or not, the fact is that he could have easily done a whole bunch more and helped like a whole bunch of hurt in the world. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Single-handedly. And so that's the point that Will is making. You know, Will is saying, like, you don't have to try to do everything, but there's a lot more he could have done.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Not everything, but he could have done a lot more.
He was a good guy, but he could have did a lot more.
Yeah.
You're right. And, she obviously takes that to heart, but she starts cleaning up. You know, she even has another instance of, a flashback when she's holding that whatever it was called, tachyometer device thing, the little circle with the dot. And she starts scrubbing up the eggs, and she starts thinking of the conversation Dr. Manhattan had about, I suppose I could take genetic material and put it in some sort of form that could be edible or digestible.
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
a bio form of something that's organic.
Yeah.
And if they ingest it, they would, well, as you would say, inherit my powers, as you would put it.
Right. He's such a... he can be rather lame, he is very eloquent. And does his little magic trick with the egg. It showed that scene, and she kind of was like, what?
A lot of egg references.
Opened up the eggs and saw one unbroken egg, and even thought, like, he's like, I'm making waffles. Watch out. Here comes eggs. And she showed her slamming it.
Yeah,
she's like, that must have been the time when he zapped his powers into it or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, what?
Yeah, she's like, oh, should I take this outside, take my shoes off, and swallow it?
Well, if you guys noticed the picture behind us the whole time, the very, very last scene of the show.
Oh, I thought you were just into toes. Move your head out of the way.
Yeah, right.
There it is.
We'll also get another shot here behind us, because I think that was the last shot I got of her looking at the egg, and then I got a shot of the water. And it's left up to our interpretation. John even says at one point in this episode, it's entirely in your hands, just like the last words of the comic.
In the previous episode, when he was walking on water, goes, I just needed you to see me do this for something later.
Yeah.
This is the something later.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, is this the something later? Did she get the powers of Dr. Manhattan?
As soon as her skin on the bottom of her head just kisses the water,
just kisses it,
it goes to credits.
Yep. And
although there is some post-credit stuff, but not about her.
So what a way to end it. And man, I mean, like I said, I could be happy it being one season. Of course, I'd be happy for season 2, but I do not want I don't want it to feel pushed at all. I don't want it to feel...
I think the only way they'd be able to do it is kind of push it forward in time, and that would push the production too much. But that's kind of what they'd have to do, because like right now, unless she goes blue right away...
Well, that's the thing.
Okay. You have to have a bad guy. You have to have
you just have to have something that's Watchmen, right? You can't just go into like a superhero type, like a
maybe they bring Night Owl out of prison.
Well, that's a big part that I would think would happen if they had a season 2. A big part of it would be with Dryberg. It would have to be, right? They even mentioned it at the end where they're Laurie pretty much arrests Ozzy as they're leaving. He's like hooks him up with the original Archie. The owl ship from the Night Owl's night ship, and
that's right. After the credits, he's like in one of his warehouses. There it is, the original one. I believe you guys made a ton of copies of these for your police department or whatever.
Yeah, and
which makes sense because the first episode of this season was a version of that crashing.
Well, not only that, remember Angela used the goggles
and the
a lot.
headgear. Yep.
Yeah, so a lot of the cops had his technology, but Laurie's like, "You're under arrest." And he's like, blah, 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 I saved the world.
Now get out of here. It was a hoot.
And
he said it was a hoot.
Yeah, he goes, it was a hoot. And then he gets clocked on the head by Looking Glass, and he's like, that guy talks too much. And Laurie's like, damn mother effing right.
She's like, you killed 3 million people. You're under arrest. He's like, I got the. And then Looking Glass is like, I got the evidence right here.
Yeah,
to Redford, everything you said. Da 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 da.
So that's pretty great. So that's that. But as far as like, if there was a second season, man, I mean, this is how I picture it. It's HBO will make a deal with Damon to, if he comes up with another stellar idea,
he cannot refuse.
Well, not even that.
Get to the drawing board, boy.
As long as they don't do that, right? Because that could end up making it bad. But as long as they're like, hey, we will be down for a second season, only if you are. So you come up with the story, and we'll greenlight it, and we'll go.
And if not, we'll double the pay and give you 10 writers for 2 years. And if you don't come up with anything, we take it all back. I'm just kidding.
Who knows? But they just got to do it right, because he even said in the podcast that they were trying to get him to do a show on HBO since like 2013, right? And he denied them several times.
That makes sense, because
he wasn't ready.
That's when the Before the Watchmen books came out, I believe. It was like 2012, 2013.
Yeah.
So, and the movie had already come out.
The movie had just came out.
It came out in 2009.
Yeah.
So like
the movie was 12.
The movie was 12? Oh, I thought that was when maybe I'm thinking of the books were then. The Before Watchmen books that came well after the original 12-issue series. All of that was probably in front of them, and they were like, we got to make this guy.
Well, that's the thing.
They also something.
Right. They were trying so hard, and he kept denying them, and then he finally said, yeah, and it was because he had that spark of thought, and it was a lot of it had to do with the race, topic that was very influenced for this season. I mean, to what's going on in America now, to what's always been going on in America. Essentially, white supremacy has always reigned in America, and it's very unfortunate. And this is pretty much shedding a light on it, how it's affecting nowadays, and how it ties in to the past, and well, what happened in the original 12 issues too. So I think Damon did a really good job of handling it. He obviously had a really good team behind him too, but it really was, I think, the best season of TV in 2019, hands down.
I saw an interview with Jeremy Irons, and it's quite interesting how he only read all of Ozymandias' stuff.
Oh, really?
Because he was told that Ozymandias doesn't know everything else that's going on. So his stuff and some of the stuff that his character was supposed to already know,
right,
he read, and that gave him the advantage with the part.
Probably gave him more of that ego stroke with his character, too.
Oh, yeah. And he said he experimented with different kinds of attempts in his first few takes, and they were like, you nailed it, just keep doing that the rest of the way. So nice. He just kept going with that kind of crazy, semi-cocky,
almost delusional
old man
kind of, thinking he was Alexander the Great or something. Yeah. Great acting from all the cast. Regina King, Jeremy Irons, Don Johnson, Tim Blake Nelson, Yahya Abdul-Mateen, Louis Gossett Jr., Andrew Howard, who was Red Scare, Gene Smart, who was Agent Blake. We had Francis Fisher, Jane Crawford, Tim Misson, who was Mr. Phillips. We had the chick who played Pirate Jenny. We had Sarah Vickers playing Mr. Crookshank. We had James Walk playing Senator Keene, Hung Chow, Lady True, and then that's pretty much it. Yeah. So, and then there's plenty of other people, but man, great cast, great crew, great story told. I'd be happy with one season. If there's 2 seasons, they just better do it damn right. It's hard enough trying to make one season of Watchmen actually good with what it had to,
HBO,
follow.
Keep up the good work.
Yeah.
The fact that you took a legendary comic, a comic that was probably one of the most renowned, well-known over the years.
I think it is, for sure.
And all these characters and side characters and predecessors to some of the characters.
Yeah, your legacy characters, new ones.
All of them have such an interesting timeline or timelines, and you put it together in a really nice way. And to add a story after the story is a hard thing to do. Well done, HBO. Well done, everyone that was part of the production.
Hats off to you.
Eyeballs off to you.
And we will see you guys on the next PanNerdia review. I'm not sure exactly what it will be.
Probably in 2020.
It'll definitely be 2020. It'll probably be Westworld 3 is what I'm thinking. Ooh. Most likely, unless something else pops up. Maybe we'll jump on a Better Call Saul review show or something.
Or maybe we'll hit the cinema and do a reaction in the parking lot after a Rick Grimes movie. Or not.
If they ever come out. So, you guys enjoy the enjoyment as always. Thanks
enjoy
for
Star Wars, too.
Oh, yeah. Maybe we'll do a review of that or something. Who knows? Either way, if we don't see you then, we'll see you in 2020. Take it easy, guys. And what should they do, Pete?
Enjoy the enjoyment for the rest of 2019, and always enjoy the enjoyment into the future.
The end is nigh. Bye-bye.